We have an executive, Department of Justice, that's unwilling to prosecute high officials who lied to Congress and the country on camera, but they'll stop at nothing to persecute someone who told them the truth. And that's a fundamentally dangerous thing to democracy, I think. And cell phone towers are registering those voices. They're taking a note and saying, I was the one that was closest to it. I heard it the loudest. This was for a practical reason, right? It's so when somebody dials your phone number in Germany, every cell phone tower in Germany doesn't go searching for your phone. Only the one tower you're closest to actually sends out that signal. But the unfortunate downside of that practicality, of that efficiency, is that we are in many ways becoming subordinated to our systems of technological capability. And we have to be very careful in the coming decades to make sure that they continue to liberate us as they were intended, rather than fall further down this slope where we've begun to sort of skid and eventually end up being indentured to our technology rather than masters of it.
Mm. But I often wonder if is there something regarding the issue that we seem to, in that technology development that goes on, forget the basic human rights, from which is the basic foundation. I would say that everybody in here really would route for freedom of speech. We all do that very easily. But there are so many things going on where we seem to forget the privacy as one of the human rights. How do you see that they are linked together?
Yeah, you know, there's a very popular meme, a mimetic idea that's being passed around governments who try to justify these new intrusions, these new expansions of law over the digital domain, over the activities that are happening in our homes, on our laptops, in our bedrooms, on our cars, you know, wherever we travel, wherever our devices travel, they want to be there too. The government wants to be in your pocket. They want to be in your home. They want to be in your life. And they justify this saying it will keep you safe. It will keep all of us safe. It will defend the status quo. We're doing well, and more than anything else, you should be afraid. You should be afraid. And the solution to that fear is to empower governments. Now, this is also happening by corporations now and other groups, but the central argument here is that the antonym, the opposite of the word privacy, is security, or the opposite of security is privacy, that privacy is this threat that's placing us in danger. But that's not actually how it works. The absence of privacy is not the presence of security. And the presence of security is not the absence of privacy. Rather, the absence of privacy is the presence of censorship. Right? When you don't have privacy, when you can't speak ideas without the judgment of others, you don't share those ideas. You're a little bit more quiet. You're a little bit less free. Privacy is the right to be who you are. Privacy is the right to the self. People say, oh, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear, but they miss the point. Privacy isn't about something to hide. Privacy is about something to protect. And that thing is a free and open society. That thing is who you are. That thing is your true beliefs. Privacy is the foundation of all other rights. Freedom of speech doesn't have much meaning if you can only say what's popular without experiencing some retaliation, some backlash. The safety, the security of your ideas doesn't come from men with boots and guns, right? It comes from a recognition that you can test these ideas amongst family, amongst friends, amongst community. You can socialize these ideas to figure out if they're strong enough, if they're ideas that you're proud of, that you can actually circulate and release out into the world, and have them be challenged, have them be protected, right? Freedom of speech doesn't guarantee a freedom from criticism, but it does guarantee a chance to be heard. Freedom of religion, similarly, doesn't have a lot of meaning if you have to adopt a state religion or just what your parents believed in, because doing something different is immediately known and highlighted by the group. You're different, you're strange. And that's where we get to the basic idea that privacy is what enables progress. Privacy is the right to progress. Privacy is what allows us to evolve, because privacy protects those who are a little bit different. If you're the most powerful member of society, you don't need privacy, right? Because you can defend your ideas, your rights, your property, your beliefs in where society should go in the future through other resources, through other mechanisms. You have men with boots and guns, you have money that falls out of the sky, you have access to all of the levers of influence that are out there. But what if you're the minority? Yeah. What if you're vulnerable in a little bit of any different way, right? If you are different and you are disempowered, you are the one for whom rights are intended the most, because you are the one who faces all of sort of the slings and arrows of opposition, of criticism, of people trying to silence your voice, of people trying to sand away the edges of your difference. They're trying to change who you are because it makes the world more comfortable for them. This is what privacy is about. Privacy is what makes you an individual. Privacy is what makes society open. And if politicians say, well, you need to give up your privacy to make society a little bit safer, what they're trying to actually say, what the translation of that is having a robust and evolving society is unpredictable. It's uncertain. And we're tired of that. We think that we've gone far enough. We think we've moved things to a comfortable point, and we don't need any more change. So what we want you to do is give up your voice, freeze progress where it is right now, and say, enough is enough. I like it here, and we will never take more than another step forward because it introduces uncertainty. But while we can understand that on some level, right? We all want to be safe. We understand the allure of security. It's a false measure, because every point of progress in human history, every advance of human rights, the expansion of dignity that we all enjoy today has begun not only as something that was different, but in many cases, a movement that was in fact illegal. When we were trying to do away with monarchies, these were called rebellions. When we were trying to abolish slavery, this was considered to be law-breaking. When we're defending persecuted people, when we're advocating for the enfranchisement of women, all of these things were riots against the established social order. And so I know I've gone on a long time here. But if I could say, just one thing, it's that, yes, there is uncertainty in an open society. Yes, we don't know what tomorrow looks like in a democracy. But uncertainty is the price of democracy. That unpredictability is not a weakness, it's a strength. That is the thing that allows us to evolve.
We talked before about the fact that you can go on rambling. These are the kind of situations where I really want you to do that, because this is so key, that we realize that the human rights, and the one we should emphasize on, is not freedom of speech. It's actually the foundation of it all, and I think you described that so wonderful, and how that uncertainty you describe is so challenging for everybody. So I would like to go on and let's talk about the aftermath and maybe also the responsibilities we all have linked to the US elections, because that's also maybe a good example of sort of what is the role of the major tech companies? How do you think about what recently happened during the US elections? Because there is a change on how things are changing that we see.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's hard to think of a better example of uncertainty than Donald Trump as president. But, but look, this is something that we need to remember because it is important. This is a time where that unpredictability can in fact be the origin of our fears. Because this is a position invested with a lot of power. But the president does not rule the world, nor does he rule any one of us. We, the individual citizens, the companies that we create, the values that we promote, the systems we build, the conversations that we have, the actions we take every morning when we get up and decide how we're going to move through the day. These are the things that decide our future. And this is critical because when we think about the advances of technology, when we think about all of the capabilities that have been put in place by all of these governments, not just in the United States, but around the world, even in Sweden with their own intelligence, the FRA, and other groups, doesn't matter whether it's Russia or China or France or Germany, or the United Kingdom, which just passed the most extreme surveillance bill in the Western world, and in fact in the history of the West. We have to recognize that governments make mistakes, and that because of this, we need to be aggressive about building safeguards into our system to mitigate the harms, the damages that result from these unpredicted, unexpected circumstances. Now, when we think about how this interplays with corporate policies, right, and the citizen, you go, well, what can I do? I'm not the Prime Minister of Sweden. I'm not a king. I can't make the rules. But in a lot of ways, you can. Everybody works somewhere, or in fact, most people do. And whether that's at a private corporation or something that you built yourself, whether it's within the government, we can promote change. And one of the central challenges of these mass surveillance systems that we're discussing today is the access to data that they have. If we're talking about the current election as an example, in the wake of sort of the hack of the US political process that we saw where these emails got sent loose, Donald Trump was once asked what he thought about that.